The other thing is I did choose a backpack because what I have found is that the airlines don't care at all about weight. They put a weight limit. They say carry-on luggage can't weigh that, but no one will weigh anything.
Right. Not
Not
for
for
carry
carry-on,
on.
but there is
No
technically
way.
a weight
Yeah.
limit. All they care about is the size, the
Yes.
dimensions, and you lose like 25% of packing space getting a roller bag. So that's why I chose a
Because of
backpack.
the-
I wanted all the volume I could get. On today's podcast, about how I overcame being an overpacker to someone who loves to pack light. All this on the 96th episode. Oh my gosh, I'm so close to 100. What am I going to do for 100? I don't know. You're going to have to tune in and find out. All of this on the 96th episode of the Harness the Power of Planning podcast, starting now. Hi, welcome. I am Allegra of Beyond Your Wildest Dreams, and I have my friend Natascha here with me.
Hi.
And I am on a mission to help you prioritize yourself and your goals by learning to harness the power of planning, which is why this live video cast goes up as the Harness the Power of Planning podcast, wherever you listen. And welcome. Feel free to chat with us. I will see those before or even if you're watching the recording, I will see the messages that you put there. So go ahead and put some messages in there and we will respond as appropriate. Okay, so part 2 of the podcast, we are talking about packing light and specifically me as an overpacker, packing light. And I did create this 4-page printable. You can go to tinyurl.com/BYWD pack light, or you can scan the QR code right there. And I include pictures too. So I not only talk about sort of the strategy of packing light, I include what I actually packed for a trip 2 years ago. I went to Europe for a month. I visited 3 different countries and maybe a dozen cities. I was hiking. I was having fancy dinners. So I had to pack a range of clothes for 1 month. And because we were traveling so much, I could not waste time losing my luggage. And because there were 3 of us and because they all charge for luggage, it was going to cost a minimum of $1,200 for us to check our bags on every flight that we were going to take. So, so between the not wanting to lose my luggage and the $1,200, I said, this is the trip that I am going to learn how to pack light. And the trip was in June and I started planning for it in January. I know this is just how my mind works, people, but hey, that's why I can put together these printables for you because I do things like this.
I am so glad because I'm leaving for, it's just a week trip, a full week, but also going to be in a very humid climate. I'm going to be attending a wedding and it's going to be like, it's like a tropical beachy kind of wedding, but it's, it's quasi, you got to be kind of dressy, right?
Yeah,
and then you're going to be on a boat and in kayaks and riding horseback. So, excuse me, a range of activities,
Right.
And so I need this girl right now. I need to pack light. Plus also I'm bringing, my husband's in the wedding party, so he's going to be bringing his suit and that kind of thing. We have to figure out how we're going to pack light to some degree. And we're also going to be bouncing between different hotels, even though we're just on one island. But
exactly,
I don't want to be dragging a huge suitcase with me. And I need to bring my guitar. So like, I want to
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I want to make sure that we really just pack what we're going to use, because I have a tendency for a trip like this. I'm going to be like, well, I don't know what I'm going to be in the mood to pack, to wear on any given day. Right. Maybe, I know for sure it's going to be humid and hot. So at least I know that part as far as the weather goes. But yeah, there's a range of activities that we'll be doing. So yes, I'm scanning that QR code. I'm going to that URL and grabbing your tips. So lay some on us, girl.
Well, and just to give you also some feedback. So my husband, my daughter and I traveled. My husband has huge feet and he had to pack a blazer for our fancy dinners. And he was still able to use the same piece of luggage that I used. So just to put it in perspective.
Yeah.
And he actually said that he packed a couple of things that he didn't wear still.
Wow.
So, by the way, one other idea, I just came back. For those of you who watch the podcast, I was on a girls' trip about 6 weeks ago. And one of my friends, she actually has a habit of packing things that she doesn't necessarily love, so that she actually will donate things wherever, like if she's in a city in the US, she'll just donate things to the Goodwill, like on her second to last day there. And
Really?
yeah.
And then you have room for souvenirs, I
And then
guess.
you exactly,
Mhm.
exactly. And it was so funny. So I was like, "Oh, well, that's an interesting idea," because I did, not on purpose, but I did on this trip. I took something that ended up tearing. So
Mm.
I was able to go shopping because I had to buy something to replace this thing that had torn. So that was kind of fun. I was like, "Oh, maybe in the future I'll purposely take things that are kind of on their last legs, and then I can go shopping while I'm there and, just switch them out."
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
And then my daughter packed something, and when we were there, she said, "I feel like I've outgrown this, mom." It was a jumpsuit, and she felt like she was bent over because it was, like,
Yeah.
constricting her,
Yeah.
and it was in perfect condition. It was really nice jumpsuit, and so we went and we bought something that she felt more comfortable in, and I gave it to the shopkeeper. I said, "Hey, do you think you could give this to somebody? We don't have space to pack it back." And she was like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, we'll find a home for it, no problem." So
Oh, fun.
there are still ways to shop even when you're packing light. But my
Mhm.
first tip to
Yeah, my husband loves to say, because I will overpack. My husband always likes to say, he's like, there are
right.
stores where we're going. So if you forget something, now where we're actually going, there's not going
Right.
to be,
You're
it's
going kind
kind
of
of remote.
remote.
But for most of the time, if I'm flying to see my
Mhm.
folks or whatever, and I'm like, oh, what if I forget this? And he's like, there are
Yes.
stores there, and you can buy a new toothbrush if you need to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So I do forget that sometimes. I do want to be prepared.
Well, so my first tip will be to get whatever luggage you need, and on I the piece that I
Mhm.
chose was going to fit in the smallest overhead compartment, in these regional airlines in Europe, because some of the American airlines are bigger than the airlines in Europe, and then regional can be bigger than an international, the overhead compartments. And so I really
Yeah.
wanted something that was gonna fit no matter what airlines I flew. And I can
Yeah.
actually fit this bag even under, at least on domestic flights. I was flying last week, I flew Southwest, and I did carry-on only, and I was able to fit this piece of luggage actually in the seat in front of me. So I was happily surprised by that. I
Right.
was like, "Oh, I didn't know that. I could fit that in there." So, I would definitely get something in advance. So I bought that in January. The trip was in June. I bought it in January so I could
Mhm.
play with it and figure out how to make it work for
Yeah.
me. And the other thing is I did choose a backpack, because what I have found is that the airlines don't care at all about weight. They put a weight limit. They say carry-on luggage can't weigh, but no one will weigh anything.
Right. Not
Not
for
for carry-on,
carry-on.
but there is
No, no
technically a
way.
weight
Yeah.
limit.
Mhm.
All they care about is the size, the
Yes.
dimensions, and you lose,
Mhm.
like, 25% of packing space getting a roller bag. So, that's why I chose a
Because of
backpack.
the
I wanted all the
mhm.
volume I
Yeah.
could get.
Yeah. Yeah. Because of the wheels and the
Yes.
handle. Yeah, it winds up taking up
It
a bunch
takes
of
a lot
space.
of
Sure.
space. And then what works for me is the strategy of grabbing everything I want and just kind of throwing it on the bed and seeing what I can get in the bag.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
And then I
yeah.
just kind of put it off to the side and don't look at it for a few days so that I can realize, "Okay, that's everything, but it's not gonna fit." So, and so I just go through this process of taking things out before I can get
Mm.
everything in. And you'll see that all outlined in this 4-page printable at tinyurl.com/BYWD pack light. But I think one of
Yeah.
my biggest tips that I will say is to get, and if you're in your buy nothing group, which we talk about buy nothing frequently on this, it's
Mm.
so easy to find these, and that is to grab a muslin swaddling blanket as a packable towel. They are so
Ooh.
absorbent, they dry so
Mm.
quickly, and it works as a sarong or a scarf in a pinch.
Yes.
Because I
Yes.
was like, "Ah,
Oh my
these
goodness.
travel towels are actually kind of bulky," I noticed. And I said, "You know what's not bulky and what's super absorbent? A swaddling blanket." And so I just kept an eye out, and by the time my trip came in June, I had grabbed 3 swaddling blankets off the Buy Nothing group. So 1 for my husband and daughter and I, and that I used it so much.
That is such a great idea. Like, 'cause I'm thinking now it's been a minute since we've had a swaddling blanket in this house. But yeah, you're absolutely right. They really do. They really can be a great thing to cover you up, and also really absorbent for their
So
size and weight.
absorbent. So absorbent, and they dry so fast. And actually, it's funny, I've started using the swaddling blankets around the house as my hair towel, when I get out of the shower, because it just soaks up so much water. So swaddling blankets, there's more to them than meets the
That is
eye.
a great tip. And, since I'm going to an island, I'm definitely going to want to, even though we'll have a hotel and whatnot, and they'll have towels. That's just a great thing to have.
Yeah,
That's
like
a great
whether
idea.
it's also great
So,
for sitting on, right? Because it doesn't pick up
yeah.
sand the way a terry
Mhm.
cloth towel will pick up sand.
Right.
And when
Yeah.
I was on a boat, I got white swaddling blankets, or I got as light colored as I could get, like a light blue, a light gray, and a white one. And it was also great, like sun
Mhm.
protection, because we were on boats as
Yeah.
well on our trip. So
I'm a very good packer. I wouldn't say I'm a light packer though, but like I can get a lot of stuff into a small space or whatever. There's often my husband's like, that's not going to fit in the trunk. And I was like, stand back. I'm going to repack
yeah.
everything. It will fit and I'm going to make it fit. So so this is how I can indulge my overpacking. But would you say, excuse me, technique wise, are you more of like a roller and putting it in, or do you use packing cubes, or do you use a combination
I
of both?
did rolling into packing cubes. And
Yeah.
the
Excuse me.
backpack that I purchased comes with packing cubes. So it was perfect. And I walk you through the packing cubes and how I pack them in
Mhm.
the printable at tinyurl.com/bywd pack light for those of you listening to the podcast.
Mhm.
And yeah, so I roll and then use the packing cubes, and also, what materials you use makes a big difference
Mm.
too. I didn't pack I packed really light in terms of it was just this one bag, but I actually had quite a few articles of clothing because I brought a lot of silk because it was summer, and
Oh.
a silk dress
Mhm.
can be this big. I'm for those listening to the
Yeah.
podcast, like, you can ball it up into your fist. They are so teeny tiny.
Yeah.
And so I was actually able to get quite a few articles of clothing. Now my husband did not pack a
Yeah.
single lick of silk, and he totally enough clothes, and he said he had things he didn't wear. So
Right.
it works. I just had
Yeah.
more options.
Yeah. Yeah. Fantastic. That's really great. Um, and I was gonna say those packing cubes, especially like if you do like a family suitcase, and we do that a bunch where we'll, three of us will pack into one larger suitcase and then one takes a carry-on. That we've done that a bunch. Um, and the packing cubes are just save. We have different colored
Yeah.
ones, for different people. It just saves confusion and like and
Yeah, it
messiness and
organizes
all
it.
that kind of thing. Especially if you have to live out of the suitcase for a couple days. It just makes it so much easier. Highly
And it kinda
recommend the
compresses
packing
everything, so
compress. Yeah, absolutely. You really can get it very small, and it just keeps it really well
and I
organized.
even had space to bring back some things, like, I brought back 5 or 6 ceramic birds that were about this size. I actually was able
Mm,
to bring back more souvenirs than I expected. So,
yeah.
that was fun. And then there's some other little tips in there, like, for instance, what if you're going somewhere cold weather? Well, there's a sneaky
Mhm.
way to get more clothes on board, which is you
Mhm.
layer up, and then when
Yes,
you get to your
always.
seat on the airplane, you take off all those layers and stuff them into a little backpack that you brought just for that purpose.
Yeah, or I use them like I'll take if I wear extra sweatshirt, blah, blah, I'll roll that up and use that for
Yes.
under my legs for the to lift my legs up, and I basically use them as
Right,
bolsters and
pillows and
pillows
lumbar support.
for my flight. And for sure, if you have an expandable suitcase and you're wanting to bring back, souvenirs and so forth, definitely pack with that unexpanded so that you can expand later for, any other incidentals you want to bring back.
Yeah.
But you really want to pack with it not expanded so that you have more room
We
later.
also took with us a duffel bag, that a collapsible duffel bag, so it packed really small, because
Yeah.
in case there was something that we fell in love with, I did wanna be able
Mhm.
to bring it home, but we
Mhm.
actually didn't end up using it. So,
That's
that's kind of a just in case sort of thing.
I am going to just give one
Yeah.
last tip that I've used past that if you have children and you're bringing a car seat with you or a stroller or anything like that that goes in one of those large bags, those red bags that you don't have to pay to check it. I highly recommend, especially if you're going to cold weather or whatever, just go ahead and
with clothes.
I bundle up some clothes inside of it and just stuff it in there. Now, not to the point where it looks like a bag full of clothes, right? But enough that I basically would take a bundle of clothes or extra diapers or whatever it is that was bulky and pack it into the car seat itself and buckle it in itself. And you can get away with bringing a lot more stuff. And then even when my kids were kind of like past car seat range, and I would just bring booster seats with me and put it in that bag. They don't open it. They don't check. I would just kind of like wrap it inside a bag, inside the thing, and just put it in there, and they would just check it through. So sorry, airlines, but
no, I think they totally
my little airline hack. I think
because I was not as neat as you about it. I did not buckle it in. I just threw clothes. I put them in like a plastic bag and then threw them in there.
Yes.
Yeah. They didn't seem to care. And those bags are amazing. I still have those bags because I kept them for putting our sleeping bags in and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
They're
huge. They're
yeah.
I wish I had kept mine. That's smart. I think I gave it away. But yeah, that was great. Also, there's videos out there on how to turn your roller bag into a stroller with a car seat on your kids to bring them on board. It's fascinating because they sell these things where you can clip it onto a car seat so you can roll your child to the gate. But there's a way to clip onto your roller bag. They're out there. It's fun. I've used it. The kids love it. They think it's so exciting to sit in the car seat while it's attached to your your suitcase. They have they love getting pulled around. And these things that converted are like, I don't know, $100. You can skip that. Anyway.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. And you can get that Packing Light Printable, the 4-page Packing Light Printable at tinyurl.com/BYWD Pack Light. And we'll see you next week. Remember, planning makes everything easier. If you're ready to take your planning skills to the next level, check out our on-demand 6-session course called Harness the Power of Planning, or HPOP for short. And you can find that at tinyurl.com/HPOP on demand. We'll show you how to plan your day, your week, your month, your year, your life, and help you to start prioritizing yourself and your goals right now. Dream wild, wild dreamers. Thanks for joining us for the Harness the Power of Planning podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe wherever you listen.